All right, welcome everybody to Talk It Up with Cindy and Jerry.
How's it going, everybody? So last episode we briefly talked about
kids and sports.
Kids and sports,
Our
yes.
kids.
So today we're gonna still talk about kids.
Right. So you have to remember we have three kids, kind of 91, 2010. No, excuse me, 91, 2000, and 2010. So we're going to talk about raising the first one, and kind of both of the boys were in technology, but of course our last one is really well. When I say technology, what's around them versus what wasn't.
So we want to talk about more or less the difference between our firstborn to our lastborn, which is 20 years. They have 20 years in between each other.
Yes.
Well, technically 19 years.
Yeah.
So the differences that we saw, we saw it through all three of our children, but when we first had our daughter, as for like the baby furniture, as when we were raising her,
which we talked about,
computer access.
Well, I think we talked about the
like
baby's furniture, but computer access was just programs.
Yeah, like Reader Rabbit,
a Barbie software.
Any kind of software was learning software.
Yeah, in those days you had CompUSA of the 90s, so you would go there and pick out the software.
These little boxes with like learning software.
Yeah. So the internet was around, but it wasn't what it is right now. I mean, I was paying bills kind of online because I was using
I think
early mid 90s,
95, 96. I think that's when we had the computer in the living room.
So there was no social media.
No.
And there was computers.
I remember I would get information of my pregnancy and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you had Yahoo was around, and there was a couple of other websites. But as far as kids on it, they were on it, but they were using the software that was there, whatever software you gave them. I think that was the explosion of computers really starting to come in mainstream. I mean, I had a Commodore 64 growing up, and of course, you did dial up if you ever seen War Games. Yep. That's right. Yeah.
I remember that sound.
But even from the 80s to the 90s, there was still no real big destinations for kids. You were just buying software.
Yeah, but even when we first moved here, which we moved here in 2000, and
it was still limited.
She had her own computer in her room. Remember, it was very limited, but she had a computer in her room.
Yeah,
we got her a computer.
I don't know if it was connected to the internet. No, it wasn't.
No, we didn't connect.
No, because there wasn't.
Ours was connected.
Yeah. Well, when we came here,
through the phone jack.
Right. It was the phone jack. It was your 56K.
Yeah.
So it was still limited, even for our son in the beginning, of what you could do and do on it. I think, again, gaming consoles were taken off at that point.
But they were computer. This is why our daughter and my older niece, they're very good. And my niece, amazing. She's she's amazing with a computer.
The computers were there.
She's that girl that she finds anything and everything.
Yeah.
Breaks any code or... She's a
stalker.
That's thanks to you though, because you introduced them into computers when they weren't even 10 years old.
No, because I was already in the computer industry, so it just became I think everybody was buying computers for the holidays.
Yeah, they were getting computers for the holidays back then.
But again, it wasn't no internet. It wasn't no.
But they learned how to.
Yes,
they
learned. They learned how to.
They weren't scared to get into behind the scenes of the computer.
They grew up. I guess, especially for our second son, Jeremy, they grew up right at that, especially with Jeremy, where the internet was starting to come around.
Yeah.
YouTube was showing up. He was born in 2010.
Yep. Because he has to show me things sometimes. He's tech guy, but I'm not tech savvy, and I say it all the time. I'm savvy at everything else. But
in fact, before Amazon shopping, I would do. Yahoo had a shopping destination.
Yeah, they did.
And I would go there, and you would have all these people's individual stores that would just trying to get on the internet, make money another way until Amazon came along. But now you speed up to where our son is, where we had this discussion of sports and what he does. Computers are everywhere. You can't. I don't think.
And so we didn't monitor our daughter as much because
we didn't have to.
We didn't have to.
She wasn't on the internet. That computer wasn't. Yeah, she wasn't connected to the internet.
Yeah.
I think one thing I tell people is, and this is on the more threat situation is. Back then, without a computer, a person had to work on one child to get their trust at a time.
Yep.
Now, online, you have to be observant that...
You have to watch your kid.
Yeah. This person...
Bless you.
Excuse me. I hope it's got not the allergies. I gotta start taking the honey. But no, now that person can, work on many kids. So,
which is scary.
Yeah, so for my son, I go in that room
constantly.
I'm like, hey, what's your name?
Or he'll go into, because he logs into his computer, and he checks.
Because you have to understand.
Chat room.
Yeah, you have to understand the apps that they go. If you have your kid has a phone and you put the app on the phone, it's only going to work on certain applications, social media applications, Snapchat, Facebook, IG, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. You got to understand is where my daughter wasn't on the computer and I connected, and even my son was. It was limited to what they could do online versus our last one. Roblox has a messaging chat. It's like email. Yeah. So it's in the application. Your app on your phone is not going to look at that. So
you're constantly have to check.
Now, I tell people all that. I'm like, I didn't think about that. You've got applications like Microsoft application. They can chat on the Microsoft app on the phone. They don't even have to chat.
There's also safety things that you can implement into your computer system.
There is
kind of,
but I think
help you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the apps on the phones can monitor that stuff. I think it's
like mirror image sometimes, like you can see.
Right, it gives you who their friends list, like like Kids Messenger. You have to approve.
I have to approve, yes.
Right.
He doesn't use it that much anymore because he's going to be 14. But I used Kids Messenger up until last year. He was using it a lot because that's how I monitored and watched his chat, because kids can cyberbully and all that, so we always make sure that he's not being cyberbullied.
And you gotta go through the routine. Like I said, I go in there, what's your name? I'm not giving you my name, where you live, I don't give you that information. Yep. And I probably do it every couple of months just to, especially I can hear him really active in the room. Mm-hmm. And, again, they're talking to kids all around the world and stuff like that. I think when I look at it now, how we are, I think of that Disney ride, Spaceship Earth. You go into
yes.
And at the end, they show all the kids, even the grandparents. I think
talking on the screen.
Talking on the screen. There was even an AT&T commercial back in the 90s, and it would have all this display of technology. And it was like, how are you going to get there? By AT&T. It was really, the connections, the internet, and stuff like that. And, doing school online, streaming, picking your movies.
Which is what they're doing now.
Right.
All that and again, made possible. More, I mean, it was, but I think when COVID, it just made it more.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In your face.
It was in your face. One thing we don't do, and we didn't, versus the 90s to now, our kids are not like, hey, if we're at a restaurant.
Oh, they don't have their phones.
Yeah.
Actually, the younger ones sometimes.
And even still, it's not when we're eating. It's more of like, hey, we're waiting for food.
Yes. And if it's like a big group and he's really... There's no one for him to entertain with, or that's when he'll use it. Because if his cousins are there,
the discussion is really, he's not going to pay attention.
Pick it up. But if he's the only kid there and there's all adults and, to keep himself busy, he will get on his phone, and probably play a game or something.
Just be on YouTube.
Yeah. But, not even when we have dinner at our table.
No.
There's no phones at the table and stuff like that.
No matter how, I want to say, no matter how tech we are, we do have the boundaries of when we eat at the table, where we are, go ahead and ask us. And then, if this is, go ahead, go sit over there. And, because we can see he's a little bored. We're having discussions maybe with your cousins if we go out to eat or whoever it is. And there's no other kid there, but we brought him with us.
Yeah.
And then during the food time, he knows, all right, the food is coming and I'll put the phone away.
But the difference is you see them, but you don't realize them. Like, we didn't realize them until we talked about it. More that we're like very guarded with him with the
you have to
internet and social media and things like that. As to with our firstborn, how like you have your first kid and you're like cautious and all that. We had our first kid. We weren't cautious because we were young.
No. Yeah, so
we were very rough with her. And
there's a if you know Manhattan, there's an island called Randall's Island. You would drive down there, you'll have a barbecue. And if this right here is the ledge,
we talked about that.
Yeah,
We didn't watch them.
You can see the cam, and we're really not watching them.
Yeah.
We were watching them and not watching them.
Yeah.
Versus now, like, hey, when you go down this block, it's make a left. And don't cross the street in the middle and stuff like that.
I think when we were younger parents, which is weird because my niece...
You didn't know where your kids were.
Yeah.
You didn't know where your kids were.
You didn't care.
I grew up in Manhattan, and by the time I was 14, 15, I had my Commodore 64, And there's
You were outside playing.
You were outside playing. They didn't know where you were. You bike riding. So yeah,
and we were the same when we were our firstborn, when we lived in the city, and even when we first moved here too.
Here's how I will look at it. In that decades of 80s and 90s, you didn't know where your kid was physically.
Right.
Now you're in the digital age. You don't know where your kid is digitally. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, they're sitting in their room, but if you don't know what they're on, applications, internet streaming, and stuff like that, you don't know where your kid's stepping into and stuff like that.
Which could be dangerous. Back then, like I said, we didn't.
90s,
we would be like, hey, go down the street, go play in the park.
Yeah.
It's not like there was cell phones back then. Or she was really little. She was just moved here.
She was just on the Reading Rabbit program.
Yeah, I mean, when we first moved here, cell phones. I mean, there was cell phones.
Yeah, but it wasn't
for kids yet.
You
weren't giving them to kids.
No, you weren't giving them to kids.
And yeah, she was 9, 10 when we first moved here.
Yep.
And granted, phones got more popular in the next 4 or 5 years. Because I remember we gave her first phone when she was 14 or 13.
Was it an iPhone or a regular phone?
It was a flip phone.
Flip phone.
It was a Motorola flip phone.
Yeah, because there were. It was just a
basic phone.
Yeah, it was just a need to call me.
Yes,
that was
contact. And that's where we started the rule back then. To wait till they were 13 or 14 because phones were expensive. So the responsibility of not losing it and
it wasn't
and keeping it.
Yeah, phones were like $50, maybe $100. I don't even know, $50, $40.
No, it was like 80.
80. All right, versus an iPhone could be $1,000.
The Motorola's, the beep beep.
Oh, the chirps.
The Nextels.
The Nextels.
So then that's what we did get her. Remember, we had Nextels.
Yeah.
So she turned 14. We got her a Nextel.
Yeah.
And the boys, we did the same thing. We waited till they were 13 or 14. But as to with Angelica, we were telling, go down to the park.
Right. Right.
Then with our youngest, we were like, you're going to go down to the park, but take your phone so we can reach you.
Right.
So it's different.
Right.
I don't know.
No, absolutely. I think the internet, I always say this makes the world smaller. Mm-hmm. You see more news online. You never back then would see anything going on any other state except for maybe the tri-state. Wherever, here in New York, you got the tri-state. So you got New York, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut. But if you didn't know what was going on in Texas or Ohio or Minnesota or California.
No.
Maybe you saw something in the paper. But the internet now and independent and channels and people, influencers, walking the streets of an area. You're like, wow, that's going on over there.
Yeah.
You're more aware of it.
Well, like the other night you were showing me the videos of
downtown New York City. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Mess.
It's a hot mess.
Yeah.
So our first one had a computer, but limited by the internet access. Our second one had a computer. Later on,
internet access,
but it was just starting to grow. Mm-hmm. Social media for kids wasn't really big yet.
No.
But YouTube was there.
Yes.
And if you wanted to surf.
And MySpace.
Yeah, he wasn't on MySpace. And now versus our teenager he's not a social media person. No. So
like we said yesterday, they're not social media.
Yeah, they're not social media kids. So
No.
my area I watch is.
Could it be that
what?
we made them wait till we got them phones and stuff like that? Because I see people giving their kids phones when they're like,
I don't
8 years old, 10 years old, and
Yeah.
I'm like, they're still little. They're not.
You're doing like I do. Yeah.
I'm trying to fix it.
Usually, I'm the one that's here. Like, sorry.
So I don't think. Granted, some parents are like hover parents, and they want to know where their kids are every minute of the day, even at school. Heck, they're in school; the doors are closed. Nobody's.
No, but problem is you got the media, and then there's a shootout, and then there's stuff going on. So the media just brings everything.
Amplifies it.
It brings everything. It's nothing's going on in your area, but you heard about it in Minnesota.
Yes,
nothing's going on in your area.
It's on edge.
Yeah, you heard about it in Missouri or New Orleans or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's sad, but.
I think
it is the world we live in now.
I think people are more like, hey, where are you going?
Yeah.
And then you got the GPS. Mm-hmm. So you could turn that on. You can track where your kids are.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying...
I
don't think it's a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, but I also want my kid to become independent and to gain responsibility and trust. You want to build that trust with them.
Well, you know what? I always compare it because I've watched Star Trek shows. And I don't know how it works outside, but if you're on the ship and I want to know where you are, I just ask the computer, say, hey, where's Cindy? And it'll say Cindy is in holodeck or
I get it, yes.
And on the ship, of course, also being a science vessel, not a military. You know what I'm saying? Being a vessel exploration.
Well, I know, I get it.
Now, in the show...
Somebody asked me, did you turn on the tracker on your son's phone? No, because I want to build the trust.
Well, I think we should. I think you should, and you let him know. But I don't think kids go as far as they used to. Not
like when we grew up in
right.
the
If
city.
there was,
We took the subway.
Right. So I'm pretty Sandlot. Remember?
Yeah. Well, they would take their bikes.
Yeah.
Yes, there are kids around here that do that.
So let's say out of 100 kids, back in the 80s and the early 90s, and our daughter growing up, I would say there was a bigger percentage that you may not know where they were. Meaning they're in the area, but you just didn't have a thumb on it. Now I don't think kids go as far as out because there are the ones that do, hey, let's go a big bike ride. We're going to go 2 towns over. And then the other ones, well, I can just sit here and I'm wherever I want to be. I'm online. I'm talking to someone from the West Coast, East Coast, Canada. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm talking. Our son talks to a German guy.
Yeah.
For voiceovers and stuff like that. He's doing.
And he's all the way in Germany. Yes.
Yeah. So I think they are traveling the distance, but in the cyber, and into the highway and stuff like that.
Which you also, like we said, you also have to monitor, because there's predators everywhere.
Right. So we did no monitoring in the 90s for our daughter.
No.
Where versus Jeremy, it just started, but there was really not a lot.
But we gauged it. We
gauged it, but there was
used to lock certain things, so he
but
didn't
the
have
social
access.
media wasn't there. Roblox wasn't there. Now, like I said, I'll go on Roblox and
you check who he's
that
talking
is
to.
Again, that's a choice of the parent. You may say, hey, that's wrong. You're going into your son's inbox.
But
he's 14.
They're 14.
Yeah, if I don't know what's going on,
that they're safe.
Right. If I don't know what's going on, I can't stop something prior to it happening.
Yeah, no,
I
you've
can't
heard
have a conversation.
Stories where the parents are monitoring and the kid is a homebody, but that one day they don't come home from school because they've been chatting with somebody online, and that person online convinced them to go right after school and go meet them here.
Take
and you're
the bus,
not even
or
aware.
whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why we check his and every day when he comes from school, I ask, hey, how'd it go at school? Yeah. And he'll tell me, or if he seems a little off, I'll say, go check his chat thing or go check his
You have
stuff,
to.
because
you just can't depend on an app on the phone because I've gone online. It doesn't cover everything.
No.
If you're on Xbox, there's a chat. There's a message. They can talk back and forth. If they're on Roblox, they could do that. Fortnite doesn't have that. If they play World of Warcraft, they could do that. No, but I'm just saying applications. Call of Duty has battle. It's part of Battle.net. They can have conversations with people.
Yeah,
that app is not going to cover it.
Yeah, you want to check all those conversations. Make
you
sure
want
that
to
they're
be
not
fully
being tricked.
right. You want to be fully aware of where they have communication because back then, our daughter, there was no communication because there was no internet.
No.
For our second
son, he did headset, which we would hear the whole conversation.
But there was not a much of a
headset, but
there was no inbox.
No.
Some of those programs. Those were just strictly games. There wasn't like Roblox where I can message you in the inbox and then you can message me back. Now you have to be aware of it. So I could see the difference of our 90s kid, our early 2000s kid growing up, and then of course 2010s, and here we are in 2020s, where you have to be aware of a lot. It's a lot of work.
Aware of a lot of
it is a lot of work.
It's very dangerous. And kids are they're innocent. So let me say it the right way. Kids are smarter than when we were kids.
Oh yeah, because
they're a lot smarter because they have the internet at their access. They grow up faster. Not to say that kids are, when we were kids, we weren't street smart, but kids nowadays, they have more access at their fingerprints to information.
Yeah.
So they can be a little bit more sneaky, or they can do things and not think that they're doing something bad. Because they're being tricked. So this is where you got to, they're smarter, but they're not as, how do you say it?
Well, they have more, they could be definitely manipulated in multiple levels.
Manipulated, that's it.
Where back then you were walking down the street, that was your manipulation. Someone saying something to you. And like I said, and
nowadays the manipulation,
it can happen online.
The person could just pretend to be their friend and work them for days.
I mean, this person could be a Roblox character. He trades this phenomenal creature to him, and my son's like, "Oh my god, this guy got me this awesome dragon."
That's how they trick them.
Right. Listen to those keywords. This person just traded you an awesome dragon. Did you give any digital coins or whatever that game is?
Yeah.
No, I didn't have to. He just gave it to me and stuff like that.
Starts.
So right there, that's a
red flag.
That's a red flag. No one's gonna give anything for free.
Nope.
And then you have this conversation, Is it a really good creature? Oh, wow, everybody wants it. It's really hard to get. And this guy was talking to me for a while, and he says, hey, I have an extra red dragon.
Yeah,
you
that's
want
a
it?
red flag right there.
Red flag, right there.
Yeah, you blocked that account.
You block the account, or you may just monitor it for a day or two and see what's going on.
Yep.
But,
That's a big red
listen
flag.
to the conversation of those keywords. I got it for free. Well, this person sent me this. If you get a package coming in the mail, and it's may say Temu, it may say Amazon, pay attention where it's coming from. That can be a red flag. Someone's sending a package. I've heard these stories. I work in, like I said, I'm in cloud, IT security, IT
What they're
security.
doing is dropping the kids' defenses down.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And again, back then for our daughter, it was that, hey, when you come home from school, don't talk to anybody. That was your area. That was it. Again, that is the difference of 90s to now. Now it's walking home from school, being at the basketball court.
Or even on your phone.
And on your phone and on your computer or tablet, any digital device.
They're more susceptible to a lot
It's
of
a
things.
lot of work, I think, for some parents in the digital
Especially if
age.
your kid is a social kid.
Yeah.
If you have one of those kids that's very popular and
Oh,
very
it's even
social,
worse. Worse.
It's dangerous.
It actually, back then, being a popular kid wasn't as bad as it is now.
Yeah, because they have a spotlight on
They
them.
have the spotlight, and that spotlight is just, there are kids out there that know how to use the internet to harm those type of kids. They just, they put their information out there, and before you know it, they're getting compounded.
Sometimes the popular kids have haters.
Yeah, trolls.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just, I think it was great in the 90s where you had computers.
Don't get me wrong, the internet is amazing
Oh, yeah,
and it makes
absolutely.
it cool, but it's
Yeah.
also very, very dangerous.
It
when you
is,
have
but
kids.
you just have to be
Yeah.
more aware of that digital space for your child's room.
Yeah. So yeah, it's hard. We see it with having kids, 10 years apart through all three of them.
Yeah, we could see. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That's what this conversation.
Yeah.
We can see where they were, and how technology is, and you got VR now.
Yeah.
Now you have VR headsets, and even though you have this quasi safe space,
You don't hear what they're doing
but the people can just bounce off your child's safe space, making these innuendos and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I've always said that. I think. Oh, I've always said also that somebody. At one point I was looking into it to create that conversation, and there are people out there talking about it on YouTube. But I think the schools have to bring those people in.
I think they should have.
But they had to bring the people in, because if I'm not searching for it online, I'm not going to see this person discuss it. And if you're not watching this channel,
But I
watching
think,
this episode,
you know how they have the DARE programs at school?
right?
I mean, I don't know if they implement that also, but they also should implement like social media safety.
Yeah. Yeah.
Internet safety into these programs.
Yeah.
Because I know these DARE programs like see a stranger run, all of these things like
Well,
that.
is it also for drinking and stuff? Oh, that's mad. That's mad.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think they should also implement,
Cyber
cyber
social
cyber
awareness,
social awareness and
Yeah.
safety for these kids, because a lot of these kids disappear. Parents don't even notice. They'll come home from work and the kid is gone, and it's because somebody on social media lured the kid away.
And it just, again, it multiplies.
Yeah.
It's not saying it didn't happen in the 80s and 90s. It did.
No,
but
it's
that
just
person had to
easier.
work
Yeah.
1 or 2 kids at a
No,
time.
now it's easier. They can work on 4 or 5 kids.
5. They can do 10 kids. They got this whole
it's scary.
spreadsheet. They're pulling information. And then here's
Not only that, then there's also the kid can end up in another country.
Here's the worst
Because
part, I think.
documents are easily printed
Yeah.
nowadays and
Is-
accessible through on the internet.
Facebook has its positives, but when you start making the physical connections, hey, this is my wife. Hey, my mom is online. This is my mom. Hey, that's my grandmother. That's my cousin. And again, I've heard this and I've seen it. I got about 300 and change friends. Once you start hitting 500, 600, even 300
I'm
is
at
pretty
400.
high. You really don't know everybody. And I think I said this before. Somebody's house was robbed, and the person was on their friend list. Same thing with also, most of the time, they've said the person knows the kid.
Yes. Which is
Now,
scary sometimes.
here-
I mean, not all the time.
Not all the time, but sometimes.
yes.
Now here you are at 400, 700, 800. Yeah,
someone
even
you
for
grew
us.
up with and you
even
don't
for
know
us,
them
if this
anymore.
channel grows, we can have 30K, 40K, 60K, 100K. We don't, we know you online, but
But not physically.
But
mentally,
physically,
or-
I don't know what
or
you do
your
at home.
intentions.
You don't know what we do at home.
Yeah.
We're opening some doors, talking about our lives and stuff like that. But that is what these kids have to be aware that they're, You have 500
They're
friends.
susceptible to all these different things.
And one of those 500 friends could have some kind of mental issue. And, you know, now they have information about you, your kids, where you go, where your kid goes. This is what I tell people all the time. Every time, if you have your own account and you're exposing your kid more than you, I just find that awkward. Because I understand you're really proud and happy for your kid. Hey, that's fine. But if there's 100 photos, and 80 photos of your kids and 20 are you, and I've seen it, you're exposing your child more than you exposing yourself.
Yeah. Very true.
You know, hey, not get me wrong, I'm excited at ages of fencing, and, you know,
I
we have a couple of photos, but, you know, not every moment, not every day, not everything he's doing, because...
it's my channel, not his channel.
Yeah, that's my channel, that's my social media
account, yeah.
I'm excited, I'm proud. But I don't run down the neighborhood with a photo album. Look at all these photos I've taken. So anyway, and that's veering off that topic. But there is a difference of us. We saw it, technology being there, but not fully ready where it's at. And then partially. And then, of course, now where it's at now, where our son is, you know, he's in the metaverse and, you know, doing all this stuff. And it's a scary time. It is. It's a lot of work being a parent now than it was 10, 20 years ago.
Yes, because you're dealing now with the...
And you're exposed to more...
internet.
You're exposed to more of what goes on out there.
Yeah, which makes you more...
Scares
you more.
Yeah, all you had was the paper.
You didn't have
and then you had the morning news.
I mean,
and that was
news,
it.
But you didn't have detail of it all day.
No, you didn't know...
access to it all day.
No,
unless you're on CNN all day long.
And even still, CNN wasn't around in the 80s and early 90s.
No, you just had Channel 5 news, you know, your local news.
Yeah, local news. If nothing was going on, everybody was safe. That's all you thought. Other states, other counties, hey, they had major issues going on.
Yeah, I know. The only way you were able to see those things if you had cable, and then you were, you know, see those other news channels. Nowadays, you have access to see everything that's going around the world. So kind of puts you on eggshells sometimes when you see what's going on.
For that part, yes.
You know, especially with your kids, because you're like, I gotta leave my kids in this world when I go.
No, and not even that. Here,
I think of that.
Yeah,
that's what I think of.
I think, you know, for one, we're lucky that my wife, I'll say it, my phrase is, works from home. That's the new phrase for me. But I'm lucky. Not everybody has that opportunity or can do that. I understand that. So what I think is also Ring is great because, you know, you have the Ring on the door. You can have the Ring in the open space living room. I don't know about a kid's room, but that's a preference on everybody. But if it helps you, that you can, where you're not home at work and your kid comes home and stuff like that, hey, that's what it is, you know. But at least you got visibility of your child and stuff like that. I think it does add value, the Ring devices.
You also want to build that trust with your kid and have those conversations with them, let them know, hey, it's not a safe world out there. Be cautious. Not everyone is your friend.
I do.
You know, sometimes people have other intentions. You gotta have those conversations with them when they're little. It's sad because I remember my mom having to have those conversations when I was 5, 6, 7. The day and age we live in now,
you have to.
I think you have to have those conversations, and not just once.
No,
like you said, you have to constantly
I go in that room.
Have these conversations
what's your
with
name?
them, especially if you're gonna give your kid a phone and they're 8, 9, or 10.
Right.
You gotta have a conversation with them. Hey, I'm giving you this phone, but you just can't trust anybody, or not everyone is your friend. You know, you gotta.
Here's the perfect example: is when I say other kids can do Think of, for those that are Gen X or even older, you go in the bathroom and you saw the girl's name on the wall and their phone number of their house. Now take that right there. Now throw it out now in this digital age, what they can do with that information of your child's information. You know, they just pass it all over the dark web and, you know, putting information on where she goes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There you go. You know, so back then you just had a phone number. Is Christy home? Is Janet home? That's it. Now they're just searching them online. And then here's the thing is, like I said, you have to understand is you don't know 500 people. You're putting your kid's face out there all the time. I'm already hearing stories now of certain kids say, hey, I'm suing my parents. They humiliated me. I can never say the words right. Humiliated me online and stuff like that. Or they ruined me and I couldn't get a job or whatever. You know, now kids are like, hey, you're
embarrassing me out
there. Yeah, you put more photos of me than you did yourself. Yeah. And you're thinking, no, but I love you. Okay, but you didn't have to put it out there in the whole internet
Yeah.
world, some kids are going to grow up and they're going to be very private.
Yeah, and you also got to teach them to put privacy settings, because
Yes.
some of these kids, they're all over the social media, and the parents give them their phone and they get these apps, but they won't
don't know how to use it.
They don't put two-factor authentication.
Nope.
They don't put some of their photos on private.
You got
they
that.
have
So when
the
you got that
access to the
posted,
world.
is it private? Is it public?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't even know that you can tailor your list.
Yeah.
Family, friends,
And,
local town.
You got to inform your kids because I know some kids are very tech savvy.
Sure.
And then you have the kids that are not, and they don't even realize
Well, even the
that
one
they're
that tech savvy going to go,
posting public.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. Okay, I know you know what you're doing.
But-
I'm just trying to give you some more information.
Yeah, because I guess it's a scary world. It's an adventurous world that we live in, but it's a very scary world also.
It is.
You know?
The digital world is.
Yeah.
It brings everything closer.
Yeah, and you shouldn't live like you have to work on eggshells, but as to
No,
where it comes
listen.
in your kids, you should.
I tell people, hey, when is the time for kids to be on a computer or a game system? That's your choice.
It's your choice.
But
if you
I
want to put them
think-
on it young, you just have to have safety
right, I think
precautions.
you want them to be exposed to the technology because
Yes.
if they're not, other
You're
kids are
hindering
gonna,
them.
right. You're hindering them.
Yeah.
You know, and even gaming systems again.
Yeah, you're
you
hindering
know,
them.
Eye-hand coordination, that thought process, solving the issues.
Solving problem, yeah.
Yeah, it's all in the games. It's all in Dungeons and Dragons. It's even in sports. You know, all this stuff is teaching
You
our
just gotta
kids.
do it
You just absolutely.
responsibly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The digital world is a scary place. It's
Yeah.
great, but it's scary.
It's a scary tool.
But yeah, so we saw the differences. We can see
Yeah.
it, and how much we be, overprotective on the situation. How much more we have to get involved in those digital spaces. So I'm good. I think we covered it.
Yep.
You have your comments and
So,
questions.
Our
Throw it
next
out there.
episode is going to be very interesting because we have this conversation. I will talk about it briefly.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm the only girl in the house right now.
Yes.
Because our oldest, which is a girl, moved out, during 2020. She was with her boyfriend.
Yep.
So
We're gonna have the discussion.
this is a 5-minute, not even because we're already into 30.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be the discussion of.
It's really hard living in a house, being the only girl with boys, and having multiple bathrooms.
Well, we have two,
Yeah.
but the
And-
main one's upstairs.
I'm at a point when one day I'm going to tell them they all have to sit to use the bathroom, except for you.
I try.
I'm that.
I try.
I'm that
I try.
Spanish. I'm that Spanish girl that does not like going to the bathroom.
I
and
had the conversation with my
pee
boys.
drops on the floor
Yeah,
or on the
but
seats.
Let's save it for the other episode because that's gonna be a funny, interesting episode.
So stay tuned for the next one. That's
Yeah.
going to be the topic.
So like, subscribe, share, help us grow the channel,
Give
the
us your
algorithm.
opinions.
Give us your opinion. Just ask us some questions of how it was in the past or how we're dealing with things
And
now. and
stick with
stuff.
us.
Yeah,
I think we're
absolutely.
I think we're like the only Gen X couple that does
That's what she
this. I
says.
said that in
Yeah.
the last one.
Yeah. So
And I've been doing my homework. I've been looking. I haven't found anyone. I could be wrong,
right.
but so you guys take care. and
Absolutely.
We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.